Hello everyone and welcome to the first game of day 4 of the Aimchess Rapid. It's the clash of not leaders. Duda is the leader after day 3, but both of them have been doing very well throughout the entire tournament, and both of them have been playing games which are just incredible, especially Mamedyarov. He's been creating brilliancy after brilliancy. That's why this is such a big clash. It's a very nice game, so let's dive straight into it. Nodirbek Abdusattorov, the world rapid champion, opens with pawn to d4. We have pawn to d5, knight to f3, knight to f6, and now pawn to c3. Not as common, but still played quite a lot. Sorry about that. We have g6 by Mamedyarov, preparing to finke to the dark square bishop, and bishop to f4, sort of a London system setup here. Bishop to g7, pawn to e3, and now Mamedyarov castles. We have bishop to e2, and now pawn to c5. We have castles by Nodirbek, and Shakhriyar goes for knight to c6, knight b to d2, so just putting pieces on optimal squares, and now knight to h5, going after the bishop here as that's a very strong piece. Bishop to g5 now, not going for bishop to g3 right away, so Mamedyarov can exchange it. First, of course, Nodirbek will force Shakhriyar to weaken his king side. h6, bishop to h4, g5, bishop to g3, and now there are some games where knight captures on g3 were played, but here we have c captures on d4, and it is now, as of move 11, that we have a completely new game. So e captures on d4, you have to capture either with the e pawn or with the c pawn. If you want the open c file, you're going to capture with the c pawn, and Nodirbek decides to keep the structure on the queen side intact. And now pawn to f5, threatening pawn to f4 to trap the dark square bishop. So bishop to e5, and now finally knight captures on e5. Shakhriyar wins the bishop pair, knight captures, and now you could allow this knight to remain here with something like knight to f4, or you could continue pushing with g4, but he gives up the bishop. Bishop captures on e5. And okay, d captures on e5, and now knight to f4. Putting pressure on the light square bishop here. We have knight to f3, and now queen to c7. Preparing to dislodge the knight with g4 and then gobble up the e5 pawn. So rook to e1, now inviting the queen to capture after the knight is dislodged, and then maybe threaten some nasty discoveries, but Mamedyarov says nope, that's perfectly fine. Pawn to g4, knight to d4, and now queen captures on e5. And although you could, let's say, grab the g4 pawn and open up a discovery towards the black queen, it doesn't do all that much. For example, captures, you can just move queen f6, and now the bishop is just hanging. If you go back, pawn to e5, and black has a massive center here. So instead, after queen captures on e5, we have queen to d2 by Nodirbek, putting pressure on the knight. Also, that h6 pawn is being x-rayed by the queen. So queen to d6, now preparing to striking the center with e5, and now knight to b5, trying to take away all of the squares from the black queen. Queen to b8, this is the only square, and now bishop to f1. The bishop is nicely controlling the knight here, and now pawn to a6, chasing away the knight, knight to d4, and pawn to e5. And now, what do? You could move the knight, but Abdusattorov goes for pawn to g3. He says, all right, if you capture my knight, for example, if captures, I'm just going to play g captures on f4, and your king is wide open. Yes, I've messed up my pawn structure in front of the king, but this is much more important. So instead, after this g3 move, what Mamedyarov should do is play knight to g6, and this is the key idea here. After knight to g6, point is that after queen captures, now you play king f7 and threaten rook to h8, and even if queen h7 check, you have king to f6. Looks very odd, but that's what you have to do, and then rook to h8 is coming. But in the game, Mamedyarov played a knight to h5, and this is not as clean as this king f7, king to f6 idea. So here we have queen captures on h6, now threatening to capture the knight, knight to g7, and now rook a to d1. Also very clean is just c4. As of course, if captures, then bishop captures with check. Once this diagonal opens up, it's going to be very hard for black to defend this. But rook a to d1 with the preparation of c4 also is very nice. Now, yes, the knight is still hanging here, but if you capture the knight here, then bishop to g2, and this is how the bishop comes alive. It's very hard to defend with this. For example, if bishop to e6, you can even capture it. The rook captures, bishop, knight captures, now bishop captures on d5, and black just falls apart here. So after rook a to d1, queen to c7, and now bishop to g2. This is how, of course, he wants to grab the d5 pawn, pawn to e4, and only now c4. Idea being that while the queen can capture on c4, if you capture with the queen on c4, then rook e3, and then the rook gets lifted all the way up the board, and, well, hopefully you can checkmate the black king. But after c4, Mamedyarov just plays d captures on c4, and now comes a move that is just very, very beautiful. It's not even in the engine's top 3 recommendations, that's why it's so amazing, and that is rook captures on e4, just giving up a full rook to open up lines of attack towards the black king. And okay, you have to capture, there's really not all that much you can do. Captures, bishop captures, and now you have access to the h7 square. But is it really game over? Well, unless Mamedyarov finds the only line that saves the position for him, and then yes, it's over. And Mamedyarov plays rook to f7, and this is not a move that saves the game. The only way to save the game, and I will show it because it's such a fine forcing line, is bishop to f5. This stops bishop to h7 or queen to h7, and the f5 square is defended sufficiently. And now if bishop to d5 check, now you play rook to f7, probably why Mamedyarov played rook to f7 right away. He was maybe thinking of bishop d5 at some point. But now after knight captures on f5, knight captures, attacking the queen. Queen g5 check, knight goes back, and now rook to d4, going after the c4 pawn, going after the g4 pawn. And it's very hard for black to unwind here, but you don't really have to. For example, rook e8, and now, okay, you can play something like rook to f4, put pressure on the rook here, rook to e7, and now even rook captures on g4. You threaten checkmate because the rook on f7 is pinned. So queen to e5, you guard against checkmate, and now you trade. Bishop captures, king captures on f7, queen to g6 check, let's say king to g8, and now rook captures on c4. And you have this position where Mamedyarov would be up on knight, but Nodirbek would be up 3 pawns, so all in all, it's a draw. But only if Mamedyarov finds this exact line, starting with bishop to f5. He didn't. He played rook to f7 right away, now hoping for maybe something like bishop to d5, but bishop to h7 with check is what Nodirbek goes for, and now king to f8. And it seems like you were able to escape, but there is a very, very specific set of moves that allows Nodirbek to take a full point here. So feel free to pause the video and win the game for Abdusattorov while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that you have to take away these squares from the black king. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to g6. This is the only move that wins the game, and now it's very hard for black to find the move. Rook to e1 is coming, and once queen to h8 lands, that will be checkmate. So like something like rook to d7, you want to save the rook, rook e1, and there's no defense against queen to h8. Now the bishop and the rook cover all of these squares. So in the game, queen to e5 was played. This is Mamedyarov's way of stopping rook to e1, but it doesn't matter. Here, Nodirbek took some time to calculate if everything was working properly, but he calculated well, and he just plays king to f1. And now there's no way to stop rook to e1. You don't even care that the knight hangs, because this knight is not involved in the attack whatsoever. And it's hard to, again, find the move. Queen to f6 is played, which is very nice. Now, if you continue rook to e1, you just get checkmated. Of course, none of you missed that. So instead, queen to h8 with check. We have king to e7, and now knight to c6 with check. Just opening up the entire d file for the rook. So if the knight is captured, it's just a very nice checkmate in 2. Queen to d6 with check. So after knight to c6 check, Mamedyarov goes king to e6, but now knight to d8 with check. Just connecting with the rook on f7 nicely. King to e7, and now knight captures on f7. We have queen captures on g6, and now knight to e5. You don't want to give check right away, then the knight hangs. So first knight e5. Now you're attacking the queen, so there really isn't all that much you can do. You would love to move this bishop to open up the back rank for the rook, but this comes with check, so you have to move the queen. Queen to f6, and now queen to d8, check, and he was in this position. On move move 38 that Shakhriyar Mamedyarov resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once the king moves, and this is the only square for your king, you're gonna play rook to d6 check, king to f5, now queen captures on f6 with check, king to e4, and now, you can play a whole lot of moves, but queen to f4 is just mate in one. So there we have it. Very nice game between both Nodirbek and Shakhriyar. They've been having an amazing tournament, but in this game it was Nodirbek Abdusattorov who was better, who closes in on Duda, the leader of the tournament. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Danush, and also a very happy birthday to Pedrinho. And I would like to thank Lord of Chess, Anderson Vera, and Torkel Stanquist for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful event until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.